into this live video. This is just another rant about the whole topic of the Epstein files. Um, I've been looking into a lot of this topic and kind of watching the news, and it's becoming a very big topic. It's actually starting to go global, so I find it very interesting, and I do think that is very important because of the implications of the whole situation of it. A lot of the people and people that are in positions of authority or power or leadership, you know, um, and that are part of the justice system. I think it's very, very important, the case. Normally, I don't really care about, news and media and stuff like that. And, whenever something big is going on in the news, most people, they're like, it's a distraction, you just need to, kind of focus on yourself and, not get distracted by, what's going on and just, focus on yourself. And I kind of feel like everything is a distraction. Even us in our lives trying to, do whatever we need to do in our lives to make our lives whatever we want them to be. I think that's kind of a distraction as well. So, I feel like everything is a distraction. And yes, I do believe that, that we should also focus on ourselves, but I don't feel like, everything just needs to be kind of just ignored because it's a distraction. Like these types of things, whether, it affected you directly or not, like they do and can affect you. If you have people running your governments and making your laws that are doing these kinds of things, that is a huge, huge problem. Like if you have evidence coming out that allegedly people are murdering innocent people and hurting innocent people, and these same people are making your laws and running your courts and your prosecuting people, then this whole thing is a joke, basically. uh, that's why it matters. If these same people that are running governments and even some religious institutions and stuff like that, um, are controlling your life and literally control the structure of society around the world, and those people are doing things like this, first of all, we shouldn't be listening to those people. And I say if, because I don't know. I don't know. I'm saying if because I don't know. I don't know what the truth is, but I do think that it's very dangerous if the public becomes apathetic. And a lot of people that have the attitude of, well, don't want to, feed into it energetically or give attention to it because they feel like it's, focusing on negativity, and if they focus on it, it's going to show more, it's going to show up in their world more, or they're attracting these types of people or experiences into their reality. And I'm like, you can't just ignore everything for the sake of, being positive, or, making sure that you're not feeding into negativity or being distracted. Like everything isn't about, you know, being positive 24/7, Um, that's one of the things that kind of annoy me about this modern age of, spirituality. Everybody makes it seem like what it means to be spiritual is basically just always being positive and, always being high vibrational and I made a short clip of this earlier when I got to work earlier, and I feel like being positive all the time has nothing to do with, I'm sorry, being spiritual has nothing to do with always being, super positive and super high vibrational. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions in the spiritual, world, or the spiritual, I guess, realm, community, whatever you want to call it. Because, all you hear is people that they're so stuck on always being positive and always being high vibrational. And it's like, if you just look at nature, if you look at reality, you can quickly see that life is not about just, making sure you're always being positive. It's not. And it's like a lot of spiritual or so-called spiritual people believe that if you're not making always being in a positive state like your ultimate goal, well then like you're doing something wrong or bad. And I can just prove this um in a very short period of time. For example, like I said, people that view or think that the most important thing about being spiritual is making sure that you're always positive, or another way of saying it is making sure you're always your vibration stays high. um there's really really evil people in this world that do very very horrible things that you could say makes their vibration really high. For example, like a lot of these people allegedly that are part of this Epstein file list, they hurt people. They hurt people, they torture people to extract what they call adrenochrome. Adrenochrome is basically when you torture somebody and terrify them to the point to where a hormone is released in their blood, and people drink the blood because it contains this release of what they call adrenochrome. This adrenochrome, there's theories that it can make people stay younger longer because of the hormones that are in the blood. um, and it can, it gives people, this vitality or this youthful um, appearance or effects for a longer period of time. So you could say that is a way of saying that it makes them feel good, it makes them feel alive, or you know, uh, it elevates their vibration because it gives them a kind of high. So what they're doing is very evil, but it can make them feel very high, or vibrant in their vibration. Now you can say on the other hand, I've seen very very depressed people, maybe even miserable. I see and hear videos of lots of homeless people in public that are just miserable, depressed, kind of hate their lives. But I've seen so many videos of people that don't really have anything to give, but they would give their last to a stranger because they haven't, in all their misery and all their sadness and all of their depression, even in their like even in their low state where they're at in life, they still haven't forgotten their humanity. So you have a very very sad or depressed or low vibrational person that is still doing a very high vibrational act of kindness by giving what they don't even really have to give. I've seen videos of homeless people that shared food with complete strangers because they just felt like somebody else needed it more than they did, but even though they didn't have it to give, they still chose to give it away. And that's just one small example of how someone that is viewed as lowly or low vibrational can be a very empathic or empathetic person, more empathetic than someone that is, doing very cruel, evil things that society or public may see as, positive or high vibrational because of their position or status in life. See, the problem with a lot of us is we often associate someone's position or status in life with their what they've acquired, and we say, well, this person must have worked hard to get what they've gotten, and to get the big house, and to get the lifestyle, the Playboy lifestyle, and to get all the women, and to get the fancy cars. And I'm not saying that none of them haven't. I'm not saying that they haven't, but we just assume that they all got it just from hard work and doing the work and doing what was necessary, when we don't know that. Even with this Epstein guy, there's a lot of evidence showing that this guy had a lot of what he had due to his connections and his trafficking, allegedly. I said, I don't know. But there's just so much evidence that has been basically blocked from the public. And, like I said in the other video, like, this is not something that the public needs to take lightly. It's like, the public should be careful not to rush to judgment. But I really feel like the public should be on these politicians' asses and not let up off of this at all, because if these people that run your society are doing these things, these are not people that we should be listening to. I'm gonna say that again. I'm saying if, and it's a big if these people are doing this, and I want to be careful, because I understand there's a fragile balance in society, and in order and disorder, and you don't necessarily want everything to completely collapse, because you don't want to just have complete chaos and disorder. But at the same time as well, you don't want to be living under a system that is run by people that are doing these things. So it's like there's got to be some balance there. There's got to be some accountability in people that will step up, and people that are not corrupt, if in fact these things are being done. We can't just sweep this underneath the rug. Like, we as a society have got to get to the bottom of these things. I'm not saying that, this is going to fix everything and all the problems in the world, but I think it's very important to definitively find out if these, allegations of these people are real. Because if it is, these are not people that should be running governments. These are not people that should be in power at all. They're criminals. And why would you follow a criminal? That's why it matters. That's why it's important. And what sucks is when there's so many people that this could lead back to, it's like, well, who do you trust? Who do you trust? How do you know that you're being told the truth? How do you know that people aren't just being threatened into not saying anything? How do you know that the victims are not just being, threatened, and basically told, like, if you say anything, if you come out in any way and release any information about the truth, their life is at risk? Like, how do we know that? Because how can you have so many victims and nobody is coming out and saying anything? See, that's my thing. If all these things are going on, either either someone's lying or people are being threatened that if they say anything, they're going to be done away with, basically. Because how can you have all this evidence and nobody is stepping forward and coming out on the media? So, and I'm leaning towards people are being threatened. I'm leaning towards, because there's so many other people that were victims that were trying to warn people or expose it, and they just ended up not alive, right? There was this model girl, and she was basically running out in, in public, yelling and screaming that they're eating people. And she was crying, and it looked very, very genuine and real, like this woman was terrified. Next thing you know, she shows up dead. And of course, it's going to be a suicide or something like that. So this is a very, very consistent pattern when it comes to people that were victims of these certain types of situations. And, the thing about it is everybody is scared because they don't want something to happen to them. Right? I believe that there's people that are, that know more, but they're afraid for their safety and their loved one's safety. And my thing is, these people, they have lots of resources and connections, but they are not God. They're not God. They have to answer to their karma. If in fact they are doing these things, they want to have to answer for their karma, because everything comes around, but it's got to come to light, because these types of things just cannot keep going on. If we as a society or a public become apathetic to this, and it just kind of just gets swept under the rug, and we just kind of just, oh, well, we don't know anything for sure, but like we just seen all this information come out, and we've seen a few people that have came out and said they've seen things. So it's like, one thing we can say is something's going on. Something's going on, because this whole release in the files, like the whole report can't be a lie. And if it wasn't a lie, then why wasn't it all blocked out? Why are the victims' names being redacted? If there was nothing to hide, and of course they're going to say it's to protect the victims, of course, because those same victims that they're probably trying to protect, they're probably being threatened. So of course they're going to tell the public, oh yeah, we got to protect the, like, bull fucking shit. Bull fucking shit. And again, I'm not a fucking lawyer or anything, but if these horrible things really happen and you're really about that life of bringing the truth out, you're going to want this shit to get out. You're going to want these people to be exposed completely. You're not going to be like, yeah, you want to, like, no, like what they did was horrible and needs to be known, needs to be made known public. And all y'all that were involved are getting fucked up. Going to jail, you're done. Justice, divine justice. If you are a part of a system that is truly about bringing people to justice, that is about truth and protecting victims, then you will be telling everything. See, this is where this is how I'm seeing it. There's too much stuff not being told for me to not believe that this system is corrupt. For all of these things that are allegedly going on and taking place, there's too much being redacted, as they say, or covered up. There's too much stuff that's not being shown for me to believe in the same people that are supposedly investigating this whole thing. I have a hard time that these people are truly trying to get to the truth and investigate this genuinely when they're showing you shit, but they're not really showing you shit. It's like they want you to know about it, but then they kind of just want you to like basically know about it and then be like, okay, they know about it, but you know, they don't know about it for certain. And it's just like they have a general, like, why would you release this type of shit in a half-ass way and then be like, basically be like, well, we can't prove anything, but then at the same time give evidence proving it at the same time, but then be like, oh, well, we can't know for sure what's going on, even though you're basically showing us what's going on. Like, make it make sense. Make it make sense. It's almost like they're telling you, it's almost like they're admitting what they're doing, and basically so people can know what they're doing and know that nothing's going to be done about it. Because again, how can you basically bring out all these things and basically show people what's going on and then be like, well, yeah, but we don't know for sure? What do you mean? You just showed it in the files. Literally, you just showed people around the entire world and then said, yeah, but we can't prove it. Then what was the point of the report if you can't prove anything? If the average person had evidence that report shows, they will be locked up and in jail so fast, and that same evidence would be used as like incriminating evidence. But for some reason, these same people, this entire list of people and reports and victims, oh, well, you know, we don't know for a fact that all these things in the files aren't true. It's almost like they're playing with people. Like they're literally playing with the public in their face. And again, y'all, I know that I'm not a lawyer or nothing like that, but we are in a very bad place if the public can see these things and then go back to business as normal like nothing happened. That's scary. And I'm not trying to make people feel bad, but you know, at the same time, it kind of reminds me of the time when everybody was getting the shots and, you know, everybody was being told that you have to get these shots. And, you know, honestly, I feel like the shots did something to people. And I honestly feel like everybody isn't even really fully conscious enough to really be completely aware. So I think a lot of the public is just so dumbed down with a lot of what's in these shots. So I don't know if humanity even is really capable of addressing these things in an effective way. I'll put it that way. I don't know if humanity is fully conscious. I don't know. I don't want to say I don't think. I want to say I don't know. Because even before the shots, I felt like people were just programmed and just, very docile. After the shots, I don't know if there's enough people that are truly awake and aware enough to confront these things, potentially, if it comes to it. Like, certain things I'm like, okay, I'm going to just ignore it and just, but other things, it kind of hits a hard spot me because it's like, this is a very potentially dark force. And if this is taking place behind the scenes in the world that you live in, imagine that was somebody that you knew that was going through something like that. We're so quick to go, oh, well, it doesn't matter, it doesn't affect me. It could happen to somebody, I hope it doesn't. But, you can't just have this attitude of, well, it's not my problem. Like, those are real people, real beings that went through very, very bad traumatic experiences. Like, that matters. You should care about that. You're talking about innocent people, children, kids. I mean, it's you have to care. Don't give me this shit about, oh, well, I don't want, so many people are so passive when it comes to things that actually matter. We're all about, making money and, I gotta improve myself. And we're all about making money, which isn't even real. Money's made up. The same people that are making you work your life away for this money are some of the same people allegedly that are doing some of these things. We'll chase after money because we don't care about anything. And I get it, we have to take care of but like, it's like, what are we doing? Like, what is our life if we're chasing after money, indebted to just paper that evil people are printing up and using that and can manipulate the value of this money anytime they want to? And we're paying taxes to these people that are doing, like, what type of world are we really agreeing to be because that's what you're doing. You're agreeing to go along with it. You're agreeing to be a part of that world. If you are literally giving your consent, if you know about these things and you choose to just go along with it like nothing happened. It's consent. It's consent by silence. And the way they see it, this is how these people, occult people, think. Well, we don't have any karmic retribution because we released the files. Basically, we told y'all what we did, so you can't say you didn't know. And y'all agreed to keep going along with this system, keep giving us your money, keep paying your taxes. It's kind of like a ritual. It's how they keep from karmic retribution, because universally you have to have free will. And so, like, the fact that they released the files and told the public and the entire world about this shit that's going on, and the entire world went on with life like it was just business as usual. Karmically, they're free because you literally consented to it by going along with it, by paying them your taxes, by basically being under their authority or leadership. You basically said, I'm okay with what you did and what you continue to do. I consent. When you basically keep going along with this version of society, with what you just found out, you're saying, I consent to being led by people like that. I consent to people like that running and controlling my world. I consent. That's basically, It's literally that serious. Anytime somebody can publicly release files worldwide showing you what they were doing without showing you who and when specifically, they're telling you what they did. Y'all do realize they're telling you what they did to your face and basically saying ain't nothing gonna happen, y'all ain't gonna do nothing, y'all ain't about that life. Exactly, y'all ain't gonna do shit. That's basically, they're basically telling you like what it is, basically. Because think about it again, if anybody else, the average person, had anything near that type of evidence against them, do you know how many charges they will be facing in court? They would be at their front doorstep so quick. But for some reason, mysteriously, all this evidence against these people mysteriously doesn't really mean anything. Y'all don't think that's weird? Or am I just feeding into negativity? Am I just focusing on the wrong things? Am I just being distracted? Y'all tell me. Like, am I wrong for caring so much about these things? Am I just, getting pulled into negative news, hysteria? Am I allowing myself to be distracted? Or is it that I actually care about certain things that actually matter? Because depending on who you ask, they would say, oh, you're just being pulled into, you're being distracted. You need to focus on yourself. Don't worry about that. It's just, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, these things are kind of horrible. Like, I think you kind of should care about people getting unalived and horrible things happening to them. I think you should care about that. Or have we sunken so low as a society, and have we become so numb and apathetic to everything that we don't care about these types of things happening in our world? We have become so soulless. We have become so docile, so dumb, that we just don't care anymore. I mean, you tell me. I don't know. I don't know anymore. But this is a really huge, like, this actually matters a lot, how this case goes and how it's handled. It's going to really show you like what it really is. Like, depending on how this thing goes, like, you're going to really know like what it is. If this thing is not really investigated thoroughly, because all the videos I see are people pretty much just trying to basically act like the files don't say what they say, even though they say what they say. And all the people involved, it's like, oh, well, I know it says this, that they did this thing, but, that doesn't really mean anything. That's not, I'm like, well, why are we even talking about it? If it was substantial evidence to be in the files, to be brought as evidence, then that means something. That means that it's evidence for a reason. That's why it's called evidence. So you're saying that evidence isn't evidence? Make it make sense. That's why we're in court right now talking about it. That was the whole point of this court hearing. It was evidence. That's what we're here for, I thought. So if we're going to basically say that evidence is not really evidence, then why did you even put it in the file and report in the fucking first place? Do you see how people kind of like just are playing with people, like their intelligence, and basically calling people, they're basically calling the public dumbasses. They're basically giving you evidence and saying, well, I know it's evidence, but it's not evidence. You can't prove anything. Then why are you using it as evidence? Anyway, I'm not going to make this video too long. It's just, you know, I really hope and pray that, you know, a higher power or whatever you want to call it, you know, brings this whole situation to justice. You know, if it is what it seems that it is, then, you know, I hope that everyone is brought to justice. I really do. I don't have to know the victims personally because, you know, those were people that didn't deserve to go through what they went through if in fact they did. You know, you don't have to know somebody to be human and care about people not having to suffer like that. I'm talking about human beings, little children. Why would you do that to somebody? You know? So, yeah, man, this is just my video. I just putting it out there because these are trying times where I feel like we need to be very aware about what's going on in the world around us and not be psychologically psyoped into becoming apathetic to where we don't care about anything. We don't care about horrible things happening around us. Because I feel like this could be used as a type of psychological operation to put the already asleep public into a state even more so where they feel like this is normal, where you're desensitized in these kind of things and hearing about these kind of things becomes normal. I think this is a very slippery slope and we need to be very careful that we don't let this shit just slide. What that means, I don't know. I just feel like the public needs to press the media, the politicians, and be like, y'all need to be on these people's asses. And the people that are doing the investigations need to have protection because more than likely, all these people that have power are going to be trying to intimidate them and send people after them to keep from the truth being fully exposed. I'm going to repeat that. The public needs to be on these people's asses, holding them accountable and making sure that all this shit, the truth comes out and is released, and that people doing the investigations have adequate protection because they're going to send their goons to threaten and to unalive people. They're going to do whatever they have to do to keep the truth from being fully exposed. So just know, that's what it is. I mean, you already know how these people operate. You already know how they move. That's what they do. That's what they do. You already know what to expect. They don't want something getting out. Get them up out of here. Get them up out of here. And I feel like it's two things. I do believe that there's more people that's wanting to really bring all this stuff to light. But like I said, when you have so many people that have so many connections and resources, depending on how deep this thing is, you have to really be careful because this is why it's so bad, because depending on who's involved, you start snooping and you don't know who might be on that list and what they will do to protect themselves. It's that deep. That's why it matters. You don't want people, again, that are running your institutions, that are in on these types of things in power. These people do not need to be in power if they're doing stuff like this. These people do not need to be running your societies if they're doing this. That's why it matters. That's why it's important. I don't even get into politics like that. I don't vote because I've never felt like politicians ever made my life better in any substantial way. If anything, they make it worse. They take your taxes because why? This is big. It's very, very big. It's very, 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 very important. I'm not saying you should stop your life, but I am saying that this is not something that should be ignored. And I know people are probably thinking like, well, what can we do about it? You could, at the very least, hold people accountable. People can call up their politicians, and even though like you might not really be able to trust these people, let them know that we're going to get to the bottom of this shit, whether y'all tell us or not. Somebody gonna tell the truth. I don't give a damn who. I don't give a damn how. But y'all motherfuckers gotta answer for this shit. Like, we're not just gonna just take BS. I'm not saying to act ignorant. I'm not saying to do stupid shit. I'm not saying to be act crazy and belligerent. But what I'm saying is, like, the public needs to be smart but firm and be on these people's asses. Not act like fools, not just start crashing out. But they need to know that the public is about that life if it comes down to it. If this is the type of shit that's going on. Like, I hope it doesn't get to that point. But if this is the type of shit that people are doing, and we're expected to live under a system of these people, oh, then yeah, well, fuck it then. Yeah, we about that life. I don't care. I'll say it. Because I don't want y'all motherfucking people running my life and y'all doing this type of crazy shit. I don't give a damn. Fuck it. Because those are not people that should be in any power. At that point, there is no government. If they are doing that, I'm not saying I'm not saying they are, but it is found out that these people are doing these things. They're not a government. At that point, they're a criminal organization. At that point, it's fuck it. No more being what's the word? No more being nice. Y'all gotta get up out of here. That's what time it is. If that's what's really going on, y'all got to get the fuck up out of here. Now, I that's just how I see it. Because first of all, y'all are crazy. You're not in your right mental minds. And nobody that's not in their right mental mind should have any control over ruling or having any jurisdiction or in any position of power if they are mentally ill and compromised. Like, that in itself is an argument in itself that this ends the whole like, y'all ain't fit to be nobody's fucking government if y'all doing this shit. Period. Ain't nothing to talk about. You got to get the fuck up out of here. And I think that's the kind of energy that the public should have. Like, fuck the bullshit. Fuck the bullshit. But I don't think people should just go act crazy because, like, if you act crazy and you don't act like you got some sense, then they can be like, oh, well, y'all are doing this and y'all are doing that. Like, no, we want the motherfucking truth. We want the evidence. We want real court trials, not where everything is blacked out. How you going to have evidence in a court case without fucking evidence, and then be like, well, here's the evidence right here, but it's not fucking evidence, so we can't prove anything. Then why the fuck did you come here? Why the fuck did you bring the evidence here if you weren't going to show the actual evidence in a detailed way and form? Why y'all playing with us? See, the problem is these people think they think everybody's a fucking dumbass and it's just still asleep. Right? They think that everybody is just fucking stupid, basically. And a lot of people are. And I believe in, everybody is, innocent until proven guilty. But goddamn it, if there's evidence showing that it's a high probability that you're not innocent, that shit needs to be looked into thoroughly. I understand that everything isn't always how it seems and how it appears, because sometimes things can look a certain way. And you look a little bit deeper into it. This is why I'm like, you shouldn't necessarily rush to judgment. But that don't mean that you just let this shit slide. Like, oh, well, we don't know for a fact, so we're going to just like, fuck, hell no. I don't want people I don't want people that's potentially doing this kind of shit having no power over my life, period. For me to just go back to business as usual, and even then it's like, okay, I'll live under this shit if y'all wasn't really doing that. But if y'all motherfuckers is doing that shit, no, I don't feel comfortable being up under nobody making laws that's doing that type. That tells me that this whole thing, which I kind of knew was bullshit anyway, but they have no right or authority over nobody. Like, straight up. So anyway, I'm going to end this here. I just had to speak my mind. You're not being negative if you look into these things. You're not being distracted. Don't let people tell you you're letting people pull you in. Like, it doesn't matter. Focus on yourself. Like, no, like, this is the world that you're living in. And I understand the whole concept of not giving your attention to negativity because it can affect you. But at some point in time, like, sometimes you have to give attention to, you can't just ignore everything because it makes you not feel good. Like, there's certain things in your life that you have to address and look into. Like, it's like if certain things in your life or around you in your reality need to be looking into or acknowledged. For example, like my life right now, I'm at a point where I'm trying to make more money. I can't just go, well, I don't want to think about needing more money. It'll work itself out. Like, no, like I got to look into how to make more money and do that. I have to actually pay attention to the fact that I need more money to accomplish certain things and then take the necessary steps to do that, which I am. I'm literally starting my CDL classes on the 9th. Go me. I'm doing that. I'm also in the process of getting my hazmat endorsement, which means I'll be making more money. And also, I'm going to probably end up going back and getting my passenger endorsement as well. So I only really needed a regular CDL, but I'm trying to go like 2 steps further, just to, kind of maximize my income, my earning income in the trucking industry. Anyway, it's just, you can't just, just brush everything and kind of just brush everything off because, you feel like you're getting pulled into, stuff that can distract you or lower your vibration or, pull undesirable experiences or things in your reality, And again, this is why I have a problem with spirituality, because too often we focus on this idea that, to be spiritual or to be in the right state, that we have to be doing our best to stay in a positive or high vibration all the time. And I'm like, that's not what it's about. That's not what it's about. Spirituality has nothing to do with always being positive or high vibrational. It's not. That's not what this is about. But we think that, basically making this cult of positivity, if we do that, then, we're more deserving of having a good reality than other people around us that we consider to be low vibrational or negative. And it's like, that's your ego. That's your ego. In your life, in your existence, you're going to feel good sometimes and you're going to feel bad sometimes. It doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It doesn't mean you deserve to be sad or miserable. It just means that in life, there's good experiences and bad experiences. That is life. That's life. That's what life experiences are. They're ups and they're downs. They're good times and they're bad times. Anyway, y'all take it easy. Until next time. Later.